Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast Non-Judgmental, sponsored by Bean Seed.
And this is the first ever video podcast that would be going live on alternative Sundays. And this is the second episode of the audio podcast. It is available on all the podcast platforms as well. And today's topic that we have is numbers to narratives. Before we dive deep into the topic, I would like you to introduce to the guest of today's podcast. I'm so sorry. Today's podcast, Mr. Kamlesh Kaltari, who is a CA by profession and has been a writer, entrepreneur, and much more. Welcome to the podcast, Bhaiya.
Thank you, Ankush. As Ankush said, it's a first video podcast for him.
Yeah.
For me also, it's a first experience of being interviewed, and I'm glad that I am the first speaker.
Thank you, my pleasure. It's great to have you here. So before we dive deep into every segment that we decided we want to talk, how did your journey start through? I mean, your college and then why CA as a profession?
Yeah. So, I mean, before I get into that, life is a beautiful tapestry of experiences, filled with moments that shapes us who we are today. I am a chartered accountant by profession, and coming from a very humble background. I was born and brought up in Athani, which is a small town. And when I say Athani, not many people used to relate to in my college when I moved to a bigger city. So I used to call Athani as Athens. And the next destination which I moved to was Belgaum, which is again in Karnataka, 150 kilometers from Athani. So Belgaum was also not known to many people. So I used to call it as Belgium. So people used to get excited. Coming back to my journey, I did my schooling and plus 2, which is 11th and 12th here in Athani. And I was very unclear, what I need to do, in life as next course of action, because in those days there were not too many means, or not much guidance that was available to us. But then, I was a hard worker. I used to study at the same time, help.
We've always been told your stories that you all used to work like this or study this way. You also have you all three brothers. You have 2 younger brothers as well for the audience. So you all three are always been given examples of how do you go ahead in your life. At least in this town, at least in my childhood, I've heard a lot of your stories as well.
I hope in a good way.
yeah, definitely.
So then my dad has always been supportive. I used to help him in a small shop that we have. In spite of that, I got good numbers in my PUC second year. So he encouraged me to step out, venture out, and study. So that's where I realized that there's something called CA. Then I entered the foundation exam with a lot of efforts, cleared the final, and then through campus I got placed in an MNC, then worked in an MNC for close to a decade, I think about 9 years. During my stint with my first company, I got an opportunity to move overseas. So I on a secondment assignment for 2 years. So I was in Malaysia for 2 years. Then I came back to Pune, spent around 6 years. Then I decided that life is a journey which we decide where we want to go. So after around 16 years of professional job stint, I decided I need to be on my own. And I always wanted to stay with my parents because of being two decades away from them, and I wanted to always be closer to them, function as a support system. So I decided before COVID kicked in, I came back to my hometown. Then now as an independent chartered accountant, I have my own practice here. I serve international clients out of here, and I also try to do different things like you said. I'm an entrepreneur, part-time author,
Yeah.
now turned poet. So suddenly I realized there is more to life than just numbers. So I'm exploring life as it is. At the same time, I do have aspirations. I have to earn a living.
Yeah.
So the profession helps me with that.
So how did you decide, like, okay, CA is one thing, because now, as you said, you serve your international clients as well. So I discovered in my plus two that there is something called ACCA that helps you. You are a internationally certified chartered accountant then. So was it available then, and how was it? The main question I wanted to focus on is, was CA? I'm sure it must have been difficult, but as now we have, I guess, 4 to 5% of people clearing CA every year. So was it the same back then, or how were the things?
No, so in those days when I was studying, I think the pass percentage was very less. To be honest, it was somewhere between 2 to 4%. At the same time, it required a lot of dedication, efforts, and persistence. To tell you the fact, I myself have flunked in CA final for 4 times, and I cleared in my 5th attempt. So it has been a tough journey. In spite of me, only studying and giving dedicated time for studies, I used to study for 14, 16 hours easily. And in spite of preparing well for the exams, I couldn't figure out why I am unable to crack it. So someone needs to be, focused, at the same time persistent enough to pursue, the end goal. Because having reached that far, I didn't want to give up midway. So I kept on trying, and every time I used to fail by just few marks. I used to pass in all the subjects, but there's something called as aggregate in CA, where your aggregate percentile or average should be 50. So the passing marks are not good enough. But your overall aggregate should be, say for it should be 50% overall. So unless you do that, you still are a failure. So you still do not pass. So that was something which was hard to digest. And just to tell you an interesting story, my grandmom, my mother's mom, so she was like, she used to see the pain, and she was very old. I mean, you can imagine. So, and with all good intentions, she was, one day she said, why are you failing? Can't you bribe the examiner or something, and so that he can give you some grace mark? So in all cuteness and innocence, she made that statement, because she saw in the efforts that I was putting in. But in spite of that, I was unable to cross the line. So it's all fate. At the same time, hard work also pays. So I would say it's a tough journey. Back then, it was, the pass percentage was tough. Plus, we didn't have enough means in terms of coaching, training, guidance. So at times we used to not get the previous what you call ready reckoners that you have. The answers to the past question papers was not easily available. So we have come a hard way, but now everything is available. With technology, things are very easy. The question pattern has changed. There are MCQs, and there is easy access for the pattern, for the most likely questions. Plus, you have enough coaching centers. So life now is very easy. I would not say easy in terms of cracking the exam, but in terms of access to the resources that you have, your arms and ammunitions are good enough so that you can win the battle. So I would leave it to that, rather than getting whether it was tough in those days or now. But I think it's easier considering the resources that are available at hand.
Now I have two scenarios in my mind. One is, you said like you failed to attempt like for 4th time, and 5th time you did crack it when it was your CA. And now all of a sudden, if I consider, because if I step into your shoes and just imagine that I've been working as a corporate, I've been working in corporate for like 16, 17 years, and then all of a sudden I decide to come back to my hometown. So if I think like that, I don't think my parents would be that supportive. Like, why do you want to come back? There's good life there, there's good future and everything. So I just wanted to ask, like, in these two scenarios, how did your parents react to it?
So in terms of me persistently failing as a first option, and second, me wanting
in
to
the
come back.
both the scenarios.
Okay, I think it was very difficult in the first scenario when I was constantly failing, but at the same time, the efforts that were put in, the goal or the end objective was never diluted. Failure is something I believe we all should embrace upon. It's easier said than done, but these are all experiences. It happens in your day-to-day life also. It happens in sports. So not everyone can have a 100% track record. So the opponent is also there to play. So you lose some, you win some. So out of every failure, what I used to do is I used to try better my attempt. If I was attempting say 90 marks, I would try to improve my speed, or I would try to improve the quality of answers, or I used to try and understand why am I lagging, which was again a challenge because we were never given our answer sheets or the gist of what are the reasons why you're failing. But I used to try to cover additional topics. I used to, because there was out of syllabus questions also, so I used to try and relate practical taxation related matters in a paper like direct tax, indirect tax, or I used to reach out to practicing CAs and see what are the practical aspects that one can apply from a profession to a CA exam, which will help you to give a flavor that an examiner is looking for. So as a failure, it's not a roadblock, but it is an experience which you need to take in your stride and better your efforts. So that was my take on the exams. And of course my parents were very supportive, patient enough to travel that journey with me, and they understood that there is something called luck which is not in my favor at that point in time, but efforts were genuinely put in, which they could see, and they supported me on that. Now coming back on the professional journey, and
sorry to cut you off before you talk. There's one quote that during our 10th standard farewell, I was given this beautiful laminated quote that said, failure is a stepping stone towards your success. And that during that time I didn't understand. I was like, why did they give me this? While everybody others has some different quote, some have beautiful, like in my perspective they were like, oh, at least this is better than having the word failure. Which I didn't understand back then. But today when I have fallen back and then grown again, like I've been growing slowly and steadily with a lot of failures also. Now I understand why they had given it to me.
I think failure is a beautiful experience. I think a lot of people struggle to make an attempt. Now I also ventured into two startups of mine. I ventured into a cafe. I ventured into a travel startup of mine, wherein we had a luxury tents that was in our beautiful Kashmir near Sonmarg. So I would say these are experiences. I mean, I tried to break even in one, and I failed in the second. But these are experiences. Only few people can dream of venturing into something out of their comfort zone. And like you rightly said, failure is a stepping stone for success. A lot of entrepreneurs these days who are doing well, a lot of unicorns, they just didn't come overnight. They have failed miserably. In their past events, they have bettered themselves, and then hence they are successful now.
And once I feel the mistakes that you made have made you fail, the next time you're very careful about every step that you take.
Absolutely. And you have to be observant. You have to keep your mind, ears and eyes open, and not only learn from your mistakes, at the same time learn from other people's mistakes. So these experiences definitely become your guidance and stepping stone for success. So experiences, even failure, I would recommend a lot of people to embrace the failure. with open arms, because there's nothing good that can happen to you unless you fail.
Yeah.
So that has been my humble and honest take on failure. So
Now I have learned to accept, because there was a lot of grumbling. Oh, this is why is this happening? Blame yourself, and then okay, fine. And it's very difficult to accept your mistake at that point of time. Like, oh, this is something I shouldn't have, but it has to. So basically, it's all about acceptance as well. The more easily you accept things that are happening, it'll be more easier for you to face with the life ahead.
and mind you, failing in a particular thing, having a pattern is more dangerous.
Yeah.
And not trying to better or improve is also the same crime, I would say. You need not fall in the same pit multiple times. You need to learn from your mistake, and
Break
move.
that pattern and
Absolutely
move ahead.
Yeah.
Now coming back to the thing.
Most
Yeah.
interesting thing, I think parents have been supportive on my decisions, because they are not getting younger by the day. Once they got confidence that I'll be able to manage my professional front operating out of here, they were very supportive. In fact, they were the most happiest, and that gave me validation of my decision.
No, definitely. I mean, you are a CA by profession, so there's no doubt. Like, even if you work independently, there's no doubt that you need a support of corporate to do something. That's something you could have done here as well. But the thing that that always keeps striking me is like moving from a bigger city to a town. Like, now it's come out to be a town. I guess initially we should have called it a village. Now it's developing. Within another few years, it will come up to a city level. But that major difference is, you still find it difficult, or you're comfortable?
I'm very much comfortable. I'm very happy with my decision. One thing life teaches you to be contented. So contentment and gratitude is what I have always learned from elders, people I interact with. And this is, I would say, I would give all the due credit to the upbringing that we have been brought with. Once you start looking at people below your means, then you'll realize that how fortunate you are to be in the place, have the luxuries, or the basic necessities that you have. Life is very simple. I mean, I might sound like a philosopher at the moment, but it's a truth that I have witnessed, and I have heard from other people I look upon too also. Life is very simple. All what you need to live a living is basic necessities. Something which there are luxuries, of course I understand. There are expensive hobbies, people like to travel. So once you are sorted in terms of having the basic corpus for your future needs, or if you are able to manage your living, monthly basic expenditure, I think place becomes irrelevant. And there is more greed to money. There's no end to what one can earn. So earning potential is one thing. Having said that, I have not given up my ambitions, and aspirations are always there. But I've started to acknowledge the way things or the life is shaping up, and I have been contented and very grateful. I would, one thing I have realized, and it's a message for our listeners also. I think people should strive for financial independence. Financial independence does not come very easily. One needs to be, boring in terms of taking care of basic necessities. So I would encourage all the listeners to have certain basics in place. Create an emergency corpus, which will cover your 6 to 9 months of living expenses. Have health insurance in place for all your family members. Have life insurance, which is term insurance. Of course, it's very difficult for the family to grapple with someone's bread earner's loss.
Yeah.
But apart from that, there are financial repercussions also. So have a term insurance in place, so that family at least doesn't have to run around once their loved one is no more, or due to an unfortunate incident or whatever. And also plan your investments wisely. Have your expenses in check, invest your savings, because of course we all know that inflation, taxes in the first place eat up a lot of your
Money
income.
Yeah.
So whatever you save, try to invest so that you beat the inflation. And the eighth wonder of the world is compounding.
Yeah.
So as you stack in more investments into equity, and also based on your risk appetite, have certain portion in debt, so that it takes care of your future needs. It could be your retirement option, it could be your kids' education, their marriage, and other your travel plans that could be in place. So at the same time, do not get carried away by someone's success story or someone's lifestyle habits. Everyone has their background, everyone has their own platform from which they have started with. If someone has a launch pad, and they can only go up, or if they don't manage it properly, they will go down south. So everyone's story is different. Don't get negatively inspired or influenced by their stories. Put in your hard efforts and then focus. Now, in a place like a small town that we are in, which is Athens, the expenses are in check. So I don't feel that stress. At the same time, it gives me enough balance where I can spend equal amount of time with family. Education also is decent compared to 2 decades that we used in the time that we were in. So I think the quality of life is good. Here you can focus on your own self well-being. You can give equal amount time for your physical well-being, be in the nature. The food that is grown in the surrounding villages is very organic. So all these factors put together, I think I'm better off compared to a metro. There's no
that's no doubt.
So I do miss my social outings. I do miss the city life in terms of entertainment and other things. But life is a journey. I think you from point A to point B, you have to move, and sitting constant is something which does not excite me. It's boring for me. So I think I'm embracing the current phase of life that I am in, and what best where you have your support system in parents. I always wanted to be around them. As I said
that's
earlier.
a wonderful thing.
And kids also get to spend time with grandparents. So the upbringing, the positive qualities that they have inculcated in us is what I always wanted for my kids also. So I think with the support system around, I'm in a happy zone, and touch wood, I think things are going fine.
That's wonderful.
That's what something can ask for.
I don't know, I've heard this when I was growing up. My mom always gave an example. Have you seen those people, all 3 brothers, even if it's washroom, no matter where, they always carry a book with themselves. Now, I don't know how far is that true.
No, I wasn't a bookworm, for sure. My other 2 brothers were definitely into it. So I used to balance it out. I used to study with a dedication. I used to give equal amount of time to sports and friends. I like mingling with people. I like venturing out, traveling. Whenever I'm not in a good mood, I just pick up my bike and visit friends, roam around. I give equal time to profession, to reading. At the same time, I like to pick up new hobbies. So Saturdays are dedicated for trying out something new. Now, it might sound strange being in a CA profession where you have to be updated on tax matters. Of course, that professional reading is there, but I'm not too much into reading. So I know a lot of people who read 2 books a day, 3 books a day, but I'm not too much hooked into reading. But of late, I have made it a habit that I pick up a book and try to finish it in 10 days, which is a good amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good start. It might sound strange that of late I've started writing poems. So this, and I've been an author myself, so it might sound strange that I don't read enough books. But yeah, this is something which I've picked up now.
So coming back to this topic that we are discussing, like how did the numbers turn into a narration? That is what the whole topic is about. So what made you inspire to write your first book?
I think there was no plan as such. Of course, my first book is on my travel expedition. It's a description of the road journey to a beautiful place called Leh.
Yeah.
So I went with my friends, and I was very mesmerized by the place. And the book is all about the journey that the build up to the journey and the experiences that we had during the journey. Interactions, fun moments, and the place was so mesmerizing that the aura or the awe that was created by the place itself inspired me to pen down few things. When I started writing down, I think there was no stopping. So it systematically flew into chapters with proper headings, and then the objective was very clear that I wanted to pen down my experiences because I wanted to inspire people to venture out of their comfort zones, meet new people, and embrace nature, basically experience life. So of course, in places like these, you see people how they manage, and Leh or places surrounded by Himalayas are shut for 6 months because of the heavy snowing that goes. So those stories that we heard during our journeys were very inspiring. So, and that gives you a chance to appreciate the extremely luxurious life that you are living. In spite of living in a small town like Athani, also we are very fortunate. Yeah. Those people are devoid of basic amenities, basic food necessities also, because they are completely cut off from the main supply market, which is Kashmir. So I think these things, experiences, I badly wanted to pass it on and share with the audience. And also the beauty of relationships, stay around your close ones, pick up some new hobby. So basically enjoy life is what the message I wanted to pass on. And the current plan of publishing the book on poems also explores various topics. It's about midlife crisis, it's about relationships, it's about, there are certain poems on your crush, then basically your fun time with your family members, and there are certain poems on spirituality. So it's about various stages of life, and these are very much based out of personal experiences. As I said, there was never a plan to turn into an author or a poet. So this is something that as I said, I like venturing or taking up new things, which is also I wanted to explore. So, and I'm ready to experience failure. So there has never been a hidden motive of making money out of writing or taking it as a full-time profession. So this is something I wanted to try it out.
Because I have heard a lot of stories, I've watched a lot of interviews and read a few articles of how do the writer writes that they need some creative space, they want to get locked into a room, think about it, or if they start writing, it goes in a flow for maybe 10 days, a week, or a month, or almost a year as well. So did you face any kind of these challenges to be creative enough to
So
put into your book?
you cannot plan to write something at the moment. So I'm only talking about me.
Mhm.
So I get these writing spurts. So basically, whenever the creative side of the brain is on, then that's where ideas start flowing, and then you put pen to paper and then start writing. So my experience has been like, I used to, when there is peace around, there's no noise, that generally used to happen post 12 in the midnight. So I used to write from 12 to 2:30 or so, and then dedicatedly Saturdays I used to give time for self, without any other thoughts. I used to attempt writing something without having a planned structure to it. So that's how the collection of poems also kicked in. So I used the lockdown period to write some stuff. So I think I would say, I don't look for a writing topic. It naturally happens. I'm finding it difficult to explain, but this is how.
I understood. Have you thought a name for the book that is coming up?
Not yet. I have listed down 6 titles.
Okay.
So I need to finalize one.
If you could name, not maybe out of the 6, or if you want to keep it like not revealing. So anything other than that, if you would like to name on your own, just for
I
fun,
think,
right?
currently it's a work in progress. The book is with a publisher who is going through and will evaluate how we go about the next steps. So at the moment I would not like to reveal much, but in due course I think we'll discuss more on this.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, what is a small piece of advice you would like to give it to our listeners and watchers?
I think holistic advice, overall, have 5 hobbies. One hobby should take care of. I think this is the interesting piece that I read recently. One hobby should take care of your living expenses, which will become your profession. One hobby to take care of your physical well-being. So you can take up gymming, you can take up any sports, so your physical health is in check. Develop a hobby which will cater or feed to your creative side, which could be arts, which could be a hobby like music, learn a musical instrument, or I would like to add something to that, to give an appetite to your creative side could be something like travel. So when you travel to different locations, destinations, you learn about new cultures, different people, so that your creative mind should be always fed with creative side, where all you are doing justice to learning something new. So that will keep you engaged, and all these negative thoughts or random thoughts that creep in can be avoided. The other 2 are where somewhere
One is for knowledge.
So one hobby, you should have a hunger to stay updated on your professional front. I would not call it a hobby, but it's a requirement. So you need to stay abreast of what is happening in your core area of work, which could be technicals, upgrading your technical skills. And the third hobby or skills that one should focus on is be abreast about latest developments. Now something like chat GPT is there, AI is coming in a big way. How it can enable to simplify life or ease your regular routine things. If one is abreast about all these things, it makes your day-to-day chores very easy. So I would want to give a message that build on these aspects and do not take too much stress. Life is very simple. It's easier to say at this juncture, but I've come a long way. I might sound philosophical, but stay contented, have gratitude, and the universe will give you back in abundance. I always believe, look at people below you, in the sense who are not fortunate enough. uh, but if you see them, they always have a smile on the face. They are very happy with their circumstances. They are grateful for what they have. And the environment in which they live is very happy. They do not know how they are going to earn a bread for the next day, but they are most stress free people that I've seen. uh, Coming back to us, when we have uh, you know 6 to 7 months taken or 9 months taken care of, but we are under constant stress. How I'm going to earn this much, this is my target, what do I do? So in the process, we are not living
Living the moment.
today.
Yeah.
We are not living in the moment. So we are either stuck in the past, where we have a lot of regrets, or we want to change the past, or how could have we bettered the things in the past. We are always stuck in the past, or we are stuck in
Completely
the future. So that's where the joy of life, living the moment, is lost. So that's a simple message. Live life, uh, enjoy life, and gain experiences, be it success, failure, it doesn't matter.
Because everything helps you at the end of the day, whether it is a success or whether it's a failure, all it gives you is a learning and a wonderful a journey that you will always cherish, even if it's a failure. Because I cherish the failures that I've had in my life. Even though I might not be as old as you are to understand these things, but with due time, yes, definitely.
Yes, and I think we should be grateful for the Lord, that we are breathing at this moment.
Yeah.
uh,
The biggest gratitude that we always
absolutely. And if
should
you are
have.
if you are able to wake up tomorrow, that's something you are fortunate. So be thankful for that, and start every day afresh.
Yeah.
And with a positive attitude, you can win the negative situations also. So have a
I
positive outlook towards life.
I was actually going through one of the book named Magical Mindset. So that book has completely changed my entire perspective towards life. For me, it was always like, if I have a bad day, like if I had a bad day yesterday, today also has to be bad, because the process of my thoughts was still there. So I always struggle to okay, fine, it was a yesterday and today is today, to live in the present moment, as you also said. So that book has helped me a lot in terms to understand when is the time that you need to stop thinking about it. And that one book, that first statement that I ever read was, you can only control the things that are in your hand. So before you try, whether it's you're overthinking or if you're feeling anxious about something, ask yourself a question: is this something that you can change or control? If yes, think of what you can do to control. And if it is not in your hand, then stop worrying about it, because what will happen will happen. So that has entirely changed the narrative and the perspective I always had towards my life.
Very true, very true.
So before we end the podcast, please give us your Instagram handle or maybe any social media handle. And I hope your book is available, if I'm not wrong, on Amazon as
Yes.
well.
So my Instagram handle is Kaltari Kamlesh, KaltariKamlesh, and the book I've written is Tenu Main Le Javanga. The book is in English. This name because the emphasis is on the place called Le. So I'll ask Ankush to display the link.
Yeah, definitely. I'll add it in the description box below. Thank you so much.
And thank you, listeners, for the patient listening. Hope you have some positives to take away from this podcast. And thank you, Ankush, for having me.
For coming. No, definitely this has to be one of the very positive podcasts, because we discussed, usually it has to happen like maybe if I see in the previous episodes that I've had, I have had some sort of regret, this should not have happened, or we have always discussed about the millennials perspective, and today we got to have a different perspective as well. So thank you so much for coming, and it was wonderful having you.
Same here.